Over the years, Tom Cousins has been an active participant both in the leadership of the U.S. seniors and as a member of the international team. He was a member of the Board of Governors from 1998 to 2001. He served from 1994 to 1999 as the section head for Section E, which in those years included the Deep South and Florida. Tom was a member of the international team in 1999, playing in the triangular match held that year at Castle Pines Golf Club in Castle Rock, Colorado. In addition to his work as a real estate developer transforming the Atlanta skyline, Tom has, over the last 25 years, focused his efforts primarily on restoring and reinvigorating a single neighborhood, the East Lake Meadows Public Housing Complex in southeast Atlanta. It is important to understand just how bad life was in this community, and the film you are about to see will make that all too clear. The centerpiece for this restoration, made by a newly formed foundation, was the purchase and restoration of the East Lake Golf Club and its clubhouse. As most of you also may know, East Lake was the home of Bobby Jones when he was growing up in Atlanta. This century-old Donald Ross layout fell into disrepair. Tom bought it and then restored it. Today, East Lake is the home of the PGA Tour Championship and the final tournament of the year for the FedEx Cup. He also built a public course nearby called the Charlie Yates Golf Course, which has become the center for development of golf for kids living in this completely rebuilt neighborhood. We have a brief film thanks to Rick Burton, the president of the East Lake Golf Club. It captures Tom's tireless work in the remarkable transformation of both the East Lake Golf Club itself and the crime-ridden community surrounding it.
If you're frustrated, even angry, or believe that our country can no longer come together to tackle important issues, consider the story of Tom Cousins and East Lake. Cousins saved the home club of Bobby Jones from bankruptcy, convincing 100 corporate partners to invest $200,000 each, not only for the privilege of playing an historic course, but as an investment in the future of this country. Cousins called it golf with a purpose.
If you'd seen this neighborhood when we started, you would have seen hundreds of abandoned houses. And every house that was out here had bars on the windows and doors.
It was the only area of the city I would not drive into myself, alone. It was the area of the city I wanted to be accompanied by police officers.
For a time, there was an average of a murder a week. It did not even make the newspapers.
It was pretty scary. Police sirens and people being shot. They would steal the wreaths off the church door at Christmas time.
Hard to believe looking at it now, but 16 years ago, this area of Atlanta was known as Little Vietnam because basically it was like a war zone. Crime rate 18 times the national average, 87% jobless, average age of a grandmother 32, drug-infested, bullet-ridden, urban blight.
No chance. I mean, maybe 1 out of 100 makes it out. And all I'd say is you go see one of these places and put yourself there without your parents. Just put yourself there. I know if I'd been raised that way, I'd have been in serious trouble. It costs more to keep this nonsense going. It's $40,000 a year just to feed and guard and house them per year. I mean, you could send them to Yale for $40,000 a year.
Since the neighborhood transformation, East Lake kids have attended 87 different universities and colleges, most the first in their families to do so. 15 years ago, 5% of neighborhood fifth graders met state reading standards. Now, it's 98%.
Very good.
Middle-income families drawn to the good schools were willing to live alongside lower-income families because to qualify for housing, parents must have a job and no criminal record. There's a Y, a supermarket, and a golf course with a first tee program. Cousins built more than just another housing project. He built an entire community.
When we first started, the kids wouldn't look you in the face. They wouldn't look up. If they did, they'd just be hating your eyes. And to see what's there now, big smile. They introduce themselves, and they good firm handshake, and you can tell.
My name is Patrick Lafang. I'm a junior in college, and I'm aspiring to be a mechanical engineer.
My name is Hannah Smith, and when I grow up, I want to be a golfer.
I want to be a cardiologist.
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor.
I just cannot imagine anything more satisfying than seeing the very dramatic results that are there before and after. And you can know you did it. You made a difference. And they say, look, it costs a lot, but it doesn't cost near as much if we don't do it. If we don't do this, we're going to continue this spiral.
The lesson here is that public-private partnerships work, that it takes an enormous amount of effort and resources to bring everyone to the table.
And Tom Cousins believes it can work across the nation with a bit of business savvy, personal responsibility, and a focus on the greater good.
There's so many serious problems in our country that don't have to be there.
I'm an optimist for our country, and I know this country can rebuild itself.
When there's really a force for good, something really good happening, miracles will happen.
Pretty powerful, Tom. With plenty of lessons to be learned from and shared by the Eastlake model, Tom partnered with Warren Buffett and Julian Robertson to establish purpose-built communities. To expand this idea, with New Orleans and Indianapolis being two of the best examples so far, Tom's white paper, entitled America's Greatest Untapped Resource, is on several tables in the various rooms here this evening, and Tom hopes those who are interested will take it away with you. It spells out how and why they were successful and what you can do in your city to accomplish what they did in Atlanta. Tom's won the highest honors from organizations such as the USGA, which gave him the Bob Jones Award in 2001, the American Society of Golf Course Architects, and the Atlanta Sports Council. He's also won the respect and admiration from everyone for his ability to integrate golf into a greater mission to help people. For his tireless work to benefit golf and his community in Atlanta, and for his contributions over the years to the U.S. seniors, we are pleased to give the William C. Campbell Award to Tom Cousins.
Things, boy, I think before some of you were born. I'm 82, but I'm having the most fun I ever had in my life. No, I really am. Well, I told my wife of 58 years just a few days ago, honey, I love you more now than I did when we married. But anyway, and I do. Now, I've got to respect the time here. There is a very short time frame, because I remember sitting out there and wishing somebody would sit down. So I ain't going to take long. But I've tried to write out something, so forgive me if I read it. I know it by heart. The trouble is my wife is not out there, because I see her every now and then, and she's saying that. Because I get to ad-libbing. But first of all, I want you all to know that this is a great honor to me and quite humbling. You know, because it's almost impossible for anyone to dream of receiving an award named for William C. or Cormac Campbell. Many of you knew Bill, many of you as a friend and the ultimate role model. So you know how overwhelmed I feel right now. Bill served with me. I served with Bill on your board for a few years, and I noticed a remark a while ago. They did put me in charge of membership for the Southeast, and they said, that's everywhere but Florida. Now, do any of you realize Florida is in the Southeast? And that was the first big confrontation I had with our board. I said, now, boys, now I know most of them are Yankees that get in for Florida because they can't get in New York or wherever, so they come down here, and that's so. So I said, that's over. I'm not going to chair this darn thing. So they agreed to let me have Florida and give me a few more spots. Now I began to populate, and I'm sure it was it was probably distasteful for some of you, but people down south wear shoes now, I promise. Now we know you whipped us once. I hope we don't ever get in another fight. Anyway, it was my great fortune to know Bill. I love the great respect he brought to the game, how honest and humble he was. He may well be the finest person I've ever known, and I've known some fine ones. I knew Bobby Jones. When he won the Grand Slam, where he played all his golf, where he trained for it, was at East Lake. And I invite any of you, if you can get a ticket, to come see. The last 2 times, young men have walked off with, 10 plus almost 2, so almost 12 million cash in their pocket. Now, TV doesn't really appreciate what's happening. Counting what FedEx puts up for the FedEx Cup, which is about 50 million. Forbes magazine, Mr. Forbes said he had nothing to do with it, but Forbes magazine said that the Tour Championship at East Lake was only behind the World Series and the Super Bowl. But they were wrong. They didn't count $40 million of the prize money. They counted the 10. Now, I've taught Forbes magazine how to count. I said, we know how to count down south. So men, it's the biggest prize in sports in the United States, and you can watch it 4 days on world television. Of course, the Golf Channel does the first 2 days, and then the great NBC does it the other 2. Jack Nicklaus got it just right. Jack said, he's talking about Bill, and I quote him, I don't think Bill Campbell ever thought of Bill Campbell one time. He always thought of others in the game of golf, and that's true. I played so many rounds of golf with that guy, and I mean, when I was youngster. I was like 75, and he beat me to a pulp down there. We played golf at the Jupiter Island Club, where we both had houses, and I played with him a lot in Scotland. I remember one round I had with him. He said we can only get 8 o'clock tee off, and I was about 2.5 hours away over at anyway. Just outside Edinburgh. It's not all that bad, you know. But Bill, he always thought of the others in the game of golf, and that's true. He played to beat you, believe me, and still would help you. Every young athlete can learn from that, including professional athletes in all sports. All this being said, Bill Campbell was one of the funniest men, even on the golf course. He liked to talk and laugh. He loved the game of golf so he could be with friends. But one story I always get tickled at, and this whoever wrote this up got it wrong. And I'm sure some of you have heard it, because any time there was a crowd at all, I mean, at Augusta on Wednesday night when the former champions meet and all that, Billy Joe would always jump up, and Bill Campbell would be there. He'd say he is still the only golfer that ever played in the Masters. When he got to the first tee, he asked, "Where is the ball washer?" Now that's a true story. I mean, Bill was very careful not to ruin a nice, perfect golf ball. That was one way Bill constantly reminded us that golf is first and foremost a fun game, a game of relationships and self-respect, an honorable institution, he called it. Therefore, he said, none of us, from the best to the worst, should need the police to keep us straight. Think of this the next time you want to cuss or throw a club.
My times with Bill Campbell remain important to me. I had a house near his down at Hope Sound, and some of my Hope Sound friends are here and have spoken. But and his wife, bless her, is still alive, and she's very pleased that this is going on at this moment. I especially remember playing with him. We were, of course, both members, but he was way ahead of me at St. Andrews, where he made golf history as the third American to be named captain of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club. Bill was the first to have led both the R&A and the USGA. Former USGA president, I'm sure many of you know, Sandy Tatum, said of Bill Campbell, "There have been just two ultimate quintessential golfers. The other was Bobby Jones." That's true, isn't it? Bill Campbell and Bobby Jones, perhaps two of the greatest amateur athletes who ever lived. They never tried to make a living from golf. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We all try to make a living every time we compete. But they gave themselves to the game wholeheartedly and in the finest of spirits. Once Bobby got over that hair-trigger temper out on the golf course, you know all about that. But what a wonderful witness of true manhood they gave us. And for that matter, what a witness they gave for all of mankind's highest intentions. I think of those two men when I see the young people in our first tee program at East Lake, and those young people who are introduced to golf as part of our regular school curriculum. They learn not only how to play the game honestly, and that's one of the big lessons we teach them. You know, you got to be on time, or you miss your tee time. You can't come out there in rag tops or anything. You got to be dressed decently. You know, it's not as bad as tennis where you got to wear all white, or they used to, but you know what I'm talking about. And these kids, you know, they never had any supervision or whatever. Well, actually, First Tee, you should know, was formed in the East Lake Clubhouse. We had started a junior golf academy first, and Tim Fincham told me later the reason they decided to come to East Lake with a tour championship was not because it was the home of Bobby Jones and not because it was the oldest club on the tour by some margin, 1904. But he said we came because you have that inner city East Lake Junior Golf Academy. And some years later, when he wanted to negotiate a contract to have it there forever, now that's in writing, guys. If Coca-Cola drops out, I got them Coca-Cola in the Southern Company. Every time somebody dropped out, we've got, of our 100, that's our limit, 100 corporate members, 70 at least, 75 of the Fortune 100 are those memberships. You can't name a major corporation that's not a member of East Lake. So, well, we all love Bill Campbell. He was so genuine, a sweet guy and a real man. You could lean on him, laugh with him, learn from him. Now, he wouldn't drink any alcohol with you because he just didn't drink. Well, anyway, right now, I feel like Bill is pulling a finger across his throat, just like my dear sweet wife, telling me to wind this up. So I will, by saying how truly grateful I am for this honor. And it'll go above any I've had plenty. And you live to 82, you're going to have plenty too. And when they asked me to do this, the one thing I said to Steve, if it's like it used to be, it'd be my honor. But if it's a fundraiser, I don't do those anymore. You know, we all try to raise some funds out there on the golf course. So I will after the sign, by saying again how truly grateful I am for this great honor and also for your friendship. Many of you, we've competed before. Those of you who are old, we've played a lot of golf. And it is my intention, and I'm going right back to Mayo in Minnesota when I leave here, because they're telling me that my goal of being able to swing a golf club by July the 1st, they say we'll meet it. So we'll see. Thank you. But for this honor, but also for your friendship and all the great memories we have shared over the years. When I came in here, I had tears in my eyes because I had so much fun, you guys. I'll have to tell you one funny and final story. The first year, I passed 50, and the first tournament was at Seminole. And my partner, I don't know how many of you remember, was Marshall Trammell. And Marshall could hit that ball more solid than any amateur I ever played with. Well, I could putt a good bit better than him, but I couldn't touch his woods and iron play. And we got down, we got all the way down. Our last competition was against Billy Joe Patton and some other name golfer I don't remember. And I knew Billy Joe, always looked up to him. Because as a kid, I saw him dang near win the Masters. Y'all remember that? Well, Billy Joe, it was a tough match all the way around. And on the 22nd hole, he had hit a miraculous shot. I said, they're dead. He was dead. And those of you who played with him, I've never seen anybody get out of the rough like that man did. And he knocked his shot up there like a kick away for a par. My partner was in his pocket, and I was on the front of this green about 43 feet away. And an absolute miracle happened. I hit that ball. Please don't let me three-putt in front of all these people. The dang ball went in the hole. And you should have heard Billy's expression, but anyway. But finally, and I promise you the final sentence, playing golf with you and just being among you again, it's always been an honor. And may God bless you all. Bye.